Okay, for this last part, before we can actually push the button and have everything fire on, we actually need to hook up the front panel connectors, which is fairly straightforward. There's a couple things you need to be aware of, and we'll talk about those here in just a second. So the first thing we want to do is we want to grab these panel connectors, which are usually laying somewhere in the bottom of the container, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that those are long enough here. And we need to get the instruction manual because that has the front panel layout for us. So in terms of the manual, you can usually find it somewhere close to the beginning. It has a section in here which I'll show you here. If you can see that, but that's kind of the layout of the header there, which shows you the connections. So let's talk a little bit about how we're going to hook that up. So the first one that's actually listed here is, let me just bring that back up so everyone can see it. We're going to start actually from the top right. So we have the speaker, the power switch, the message LED, and then on the bottom we have a power LED for the 3-pinners, and we'll talk about that in just a second depending on your case style. And then we have the reset switch and then the hard drive activity LED. So let's start with the speaker. Now this particular case comes with a little bit different configuration. It comes with a separate speaker that doesn't actually, it's not actually mounted in the case. Some of them, they're actually mounted in the case. The one thing you have to be careful on any of these is that there is a polarity. The polarity is listed right on the chart. You can see where it says a little plus, minus everywhere. And in this particular case, the speaker plus is on the left-hand side, so that will be the red wire, and we'll attach that to here. So this actually hangs out, which we'll dress up and try to make it look good. And you don't actually have to use the speaker. Okay, and then again, depending on the case you have, you may have either a 3-pin or 2 loose pins on the power LED. And the power LED, if it's on a 3-pin, as I mentioned, it's on the chart earlier, actually fits on the bottom, and we're going to put that in to here. So we actually have the power LED plugged in, and again, looking at the polarity, typically on these cases the white is the common and the colored wire is whatever that function is. On some of the switches it doesn't matter. On the reset it doesn't matter. On the power switch it doesn't matter. I just like to follow the polarity just to keep things nice and clean. So now that we got that hooked up, let's go on and hook up the last couple cables. And so that, going to the bottom here, let me just show you the chart again. We have the reset switch on the, I'm going to go across the bottom here. So we have the reset switch, which is the second to the last pair. So we're going to do that. Let me grab the reset switch here, which usually is the blue wire. So here's the reset switch. And again, keeping in terms of, just to keep it consistent in terms of polarity, I'm going to go ahead and put the plus wire put that in, and the last one would be the hard drive LED, which is also has a polarity, which is on the plus side being on the last pin. So let's grab the hard drive LED. We're going to have the plus side on the last pin. So we're going to go ahead and mount that guy there. Okay, so that should give us the, if we were to examine the chart, we would see that we have hard drive LED, reset, and power LED, which is exactly what we have down here. And that leaves us on the top with the power switch is all. The Most cases don't use the power LED and the message light, so you can see this one has the capability of doing either one. We're using the 3-pin power down here as opposed to the message light, which is up here. So all we're going to put on the top here is the power switch. So let's grab the power switch, which is this one here. And again, to keep it consistent, we're going to put the positive on the left hand side. So you put that in here on these last 2 pins. Not last 2 pins, the second to the last 2 pins. And there we have our hookup. So that completes our front panels. Most of the cases come with some form of USB and audio connectors which come from the front case. Those are not required to boot up the system, but we do kind of need to know a little bit about them. So here's our HD audio, which will, in this case, will hook up to the front panel up here. And we have the USB header, which will hook up to one of the USB port headers that are down here. So again, we can do that later. It's not required to boot up the system. If you want to just hook everything up and power it up, you can do that. It just depends on how you want to do it. I typically stop at this point and go ahead and power it up, make sure everything operates, boots, and then I go back in and I clean up my wiring, make it look presentable, and attach any of the peripheral wires that I may have overlooked in the first round. So again, that's basically completes the physical build enough for you to be able to power it up and test it, install your OS. You're basically good to go at that point.